Local news that matters on Local 22 News.
At this place in history, we're on the UVM Green in Burlington with Executive Director of the Vermont Historical Society, Steve Perkins. Steve, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk a little bit about a kind of a love-hate relationship that founded this university.
All right, who is that?
Well, it's this guy right here.
Okay.
We're standing right in front of this big statue. Ira Allen. Now, we could talk about Ira Allen for hours, but we're going to talk today about the founding of UVM. He acquired hundreds of thousands of acres of land in northern Vermont, really centered around the Winooski River. And so he wanted to increase that value of his land. And so he knew in the Constitution of 1777, Vermont's original Constitution, it said that the state will establish a state university. When that happened at the beginning, the state said, oh great, there already is a university in Vermont, Dartmouth, because Hanover, New Hampshire used to be called Dresden, and it was part of Vermont for a number of years. Ira Allen didn't like this because Dartmouth's over on the Connecticut River side. And at the time, Vermont politically was split east-west by the mountains. And if he could get a university in where his land was, it would bring power to that political faction, and it would bring people and investors here. He put forward a proposal of 5,000 pounds to establish a university in Vermont. He said, I'll sweeten that pot, 5,000 pounds and 50 acres to put the university on. It went to the legislature. We're talking 1789 at this point. It took them a couple of years to get around to actually acting on it because, of course, they were turning us from a republic into a state. But in 1791, voted to award the site of the state university to Burlington. And as I said before, it was somewhat of a love-hate relationship as well. You remember he proposed this 5,000 pounds. He didn't pay. He couldn't pay. So Ira Allen had all of this land. He was a land speculator, a developer. He never had any money. He had lots of land and he had lots and lots of schemes to make lots of money, but he was always in debt. And, you know, the powers that be came to Burlington and said, okay, here are the 50 acres we want, Ira, give it to us. And that's kind of what we're on right here. In fact, he was so much in debt that in 1803 he was arrested. He made bail and then snuck out in the middle of the night and went to Philadelphia. And he died penniless in Philadelphia and is buried in an unmarked grave there. And so for years after that, he really wasn't spoken of here at UVM. UVM was a very poor state university because it didn't have any of that seed money to help pay for it. He was not really liked by kind of those early years of the 19th century. Eventually the university, I mean, it's a beautiful big campus. It's the state's flagship university, and Burlington is really happy that it's here because it did bring people here. It did bring investment here. Now it's the biggest city in the state of Vermont. A lot of that is because the university was placed here. In the 1920s, James Wilbur, who was a very wealthy Burlingtonian, said, you know, Ira Allen, we know he didn't pay his debts, but he did get the university here. And so James Wilbur paid for this statue, and he also paid for that little building over there, the Ira Allen Chapel.
At this place in history.
Local news that matters on Local 22 News.